All right, good people. So we need to talk 23 is back. And this episode here is real special for me because I'm getting educated by some people that I trust to educate me. So being that this is Pride Month, I want to bring in some people so that we could discuss Pride Month. So I have Vonnie,
Hey.
I have AJ. She muted.
Oh
No,
no, hey guys.
Oh, I couldn't hear you. And then I have Milan.
What's going on?
All right. So to start, so if you hear the music in the background, this is Chica Cinderella Part Two. I don't own the rights to this music, but I like the song a lot, so I had to let it play. But all right. So Bonnie, introduce yourself to the people. Tell them your platform and where they can find you.
oh, no problem. What's up? This is Bonnie V. I am co-host of Late to the Party podcast. You can find it on SoundCloud. You can find it on Anchor. Find me on Instagram at Bonnie VR official, all one word. And our podcast is Late Party Podcast on Instagram.
All right, AJ.
Hey guys, AJ. Find me on Instagram at abreezy84. Also follow my chef page. I'm chef and owner. I'm sorry, of Not by Chance Catering, and IG for that one is Not by Chance Catering.
Milan.
You can follow me on the Black Book Podcast on all streaming platforms: Spotify, Anchor, Apple, you name it. I'm there.
And well, for those that may not know me, I'm Ringo, host, was a curator, all that good stuff of We Need to Talk 23. Find me everywhere at We Need to Talk 23 Pod. My YouTube channel, same, We Need to Talk 23. Email, We Need to Talk 23 pod at gmail.com. All right, let's just get right into it. So I want to start here. So, being that this is Pride Month, can each of you tell me what Pride Month means or represents to you?
Who want to take it?
Ladies first.
I'll
Um,
take it. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Milan.
no, you're good. You're good. You're good.
To me, pride is on one hand, it's like the commercialization of everything. So you're gonna see like rainbows everywhere. But personally, it's just allows me to be as free, as gay, as non like held back as possible.
Yeah.
Definitely has to be some sort of action, some sort of like giving back, and just being unapologetically yourself
Yeah.
in a society that people like. It's weird. It's like people don't even think to question it, or yeah. So just unapologetically yourself as far as gender expression and attraction.
Okay.
Yes.
Who wants
I
to?
definitely think that. I think pride for me is just freedom, like, freedom of speech in a sense,
Mhm.
Um, it's something I take great pride in, literally. Came out, I'm sure most people, and I don't want to say this for everybody, but I didn't really have the best upbringing, being a lesbian in a Black family, Christian raised, you got hell, so for me, it's a beautiful thing to see like the growth I've had as a woman, my family's had the acceptance of me, so I love Pride Month. I'm pretty much at every event if need be when it comes around. So freedom is my answer for that.
What about you?
I have to agree with agree with the ladies. They pretty much nipped it in the butt. Pride for me means a whole lot. Again, relating to Mulan, is it?
Mhm.
Yeah, Malone.
Yeah. I came from a Christian background, a disciplined family, and all that. So, growing up, I'm 36. So growing up, and being as open as I was and not caring, it was a little, it was a lot to carry on my back. But as you get older and you start to travel the world, you just see how many people really just don't care and they're just themselves and they love it. So it's like, I grew into that, and it means so much to me now as a grown woman because I love it. Like, to be as prideful as I am, and to see transgender, anybody from the LGBTQ community just being openly happy. Mm-hmm. So pride to me is it's an awesome thing. Like I love it. I love it. I love it. I celebrated 365. So, but when it's our month, it's our month.
It reminds me of, and this will definitely probably come in later on sometime in the conversation. Of like, because right now the ballroom scene, I love Legendary, like, even though I'm a little mad with them right now, but like the ballroom scene was like created for you to like live your fantasy life. For that one night you could, express yourself, and that's what pride is. It's like I just get to be a regular person and I can just like, you know what I mean? Like when people ask me, so like, oh, when are you gonna bring such and such, or are you dating? I could be like, no, you know what I mean? I haven't seen any women or men that I'm like really interested in. Like, not even have a second thought or have that hesitation in myself or be bracing for somebody's crazy reaction. Mm-hmm. I just get to be.
So let me ask, so how as far as the I guess the gender roles go, or the labels, do you all feel that they're necessary, or how do you all feel about the labels?
Ooh, you touching a good subject here. I like this one. Good question.
Now for me, well, shit, I'm gonna go because I'm like, I feel like, and I could be speaking for everybody, or I could not. But the older you get, the less you care about labels and shit like that. Yes. You do whatever, whenever. You know what I'm saying? Like, but of course, when I was younger, I was this, and I was a stud, and I was a STEM. You know what I'm saying? But now I don't give a shit what you call me. Like, messes me though.
I will say yes for the newer generation, because now it's, with this Gen Z that's in now, like there's like intersex, like it really is like so much more, not complex, just multifaceted than I ever thought of beforehand. And just hearing how people identify in a way, like I'm educating myself more. I do think it's needed because, even with LGBT, that moniker is so many people that fit under there. And if we're going to be a collective or a group that is, multi-armed under this umbrella, we got to make sure that everybody is getting the equal shine. So I would say for that part, yeah, I do think labels are a little bit necessary, so that we're checking ourselves that we're not, even though I'm sure the rest of the co-hosts can tell you, like, it is kind of a hierarchy, right? Like like to most people in the LGBT, there is a hierarchy. So I think it's important to have those labels, so we keeping ourselves in check on making sure we're not stepping on anyone's toes or praising one group over the other.
I have to agree with both of them. They both hit great points when it comes to that. Me personally, as I've gotten older and traveled the world, like I've seen that love is love. And the whole title thing is like, if I think a stud is beautiful, I'm gonna let you know, hey, you're beautiful. I'm attracted to a woman. So at the end of the day, like I've grown to learn that the whole label thing and who you love is just, it's they put too much into it nowadays, instead of just enjoying life and enjoying what they have and all that great stuff. When I was younger, I was like Milan, I was a stud, hard stud. You couldn't tell me nothing. Oh, I was like hard into the game. But like I said, as I got older and I got to travel the world and, see other people in their what's the word for it? In their
environment
world or whatever. I'm just gonna say in their world or whatever. But it's like, you just learn so much. I'm still learning. At 36, I'm still learning. But I've grown to just like, when people be like, "Oh, you're a stud," I'm like, I'm me. I dress like a guy because I'm comfortable. Like I love it, but I'm me at the end of the day.
So as far as the labels, do you all feel that and and correct me when I'm wrong, like I said, you all gonna educate me today. But when people on the heterosexual side, when do you think that we keep the label nonsense going, or do you think it's more of the media? Because for me, I'm gonna just speak for me. Me, I don't give a shit. I don't. I mean, like I said, I'm cool with who I'm cool with, love who I love, all that good stuff. So you know what I mean. Like I said, I prefer people with good vibes. I don't give a shit what who you sleeping with, what you doing. That's your business. But do you think that the heterosexual side keeps the label thing going, or is that more of a media thing?
As if I could take this one real quick,
Hmm.
me personally, the gay community keeps the label thing going. The heterosexual people, they really don't care too much. They're still on the ill. That's a sin phase for us. I feel like we get more from the gay community about stuff like that. To this day, like I see some of the people that I used to hang with back in the day, and they still in in their old ways and stuff like that. And I'm like, God, like y'all bash us more than the
Yeah.
straight community does, and it's
Right.
crazy.
Anybody else?
Y'all go ahead. Yeah.
I think the media to a point is keeping it going because the weird thing about the media is like they want to have the vision of like we're all equal, we're all in this together, but it's like I still want to like separate my groups and demographics because it's like quotas and money and stuff that I have to make. So how do I make gay people feel like they're welcome but still create that division amongst heterosexual people and queer people? Oh, I'm gonna put the rainbow, I'm gonna put the LGBT, because that confusion and derision is what continues to make them money.
Okay.
And so they get to have the face of, we're open, we're this, blah, 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 but I'm really not changing anything. Because the people go where the money, you know what I mean? The money goes where the people go.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes.
everybody gets to feel good in June and feel like they gave to a cause and we all love. And then the rest of the 11 months of the year, they hate us and then keep telling us why we don't need to have rights.
Yes.
What about you, Milan?
Mm, I'm kind of like I definitely agree with what both of them says. Like I have nothing to say to that. That's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so for those that may not know, or to the ignorant folks and those that just don't want to learn. So as far as if you all can just help me break down some of the, I don't want to say label, but it's like queer. What if someone were to ask that didn't know, or like that's been under a rock for the last 20, 30 years? What is I guess the true definition of a queer person?
Can I go because I actually identify as queer? That's my
I'm
official
curious. Now I'm
personal
curious.
Yeah,
identification.
go ahead.
So I always say, technically, you can call me bi, right? Like, if most people needed to, I'm attracted to women and men. I've dated women and men, right? But the reason why I identify as queer is because it's more of the community itself that you feel a part of. Like, I was 12 years old when I watched Rocky Horror Picture Show, and that completely changed my like life and identification of like what was possible, what you can be attracted to, what you can be presented as. And I found myself internally, like it just kept coming back to gay, like LGBT, like it just kept coming back. Like everything I liked always kept coming back to that. And it took me honestly to get in my 30s to be like, no, this is what it is. And I attribute it to, yes, it's where you sexually, like that was the word that was used back in the day. I would say like 60s, 70s, right? To identify all people who did not fit within the general heterosexual, sexual identification, right? But I think about it as the community of what my media that I was consuming, what events that I was always found myself in participation with. I think about it as the community. And I mean, between Black, nerd, and the queer community, like those are the three things that like I think demonstrate me to the fullest. If you think about it like sexually, again, it's just you're not straight. Like you know what I mean? Like you play around in a lot of different pools potentially. But you know what I mean? I hope that is a good summary of queer.
You taught me something new because I had no idea. Like I don't associate with queer. The labels aren't me, Jamil.
I know. I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to learn, and for those that, because like I said, for me, it's, if I rock with you, I fuck with you. I don't really care. Like I said, you cool with me, you're a good person. That's all the fuck I care about. I don't care about nothing else. So then,
like I am curious. So asking the ladies, right? So we heard about queer. Like, how many other names are out there? Like, just off the top of your head, because I know stud, stem, fem, right? What else is there? Is there like some other, like, is there a mix? Like,
I mean, I've heard queer, I've heard bulldogger, I've heard a couple of them, but I'm just familiar with the LGBTQ, like lesbian, queer, trans, gender, bisexual.
Right. I'm talking about like other names that women identify as, like.
Well, nowadays with like gender non-binary, again, I'm still finding out about intersex. I know that's a thing, and I could Google it right now, and I could, you know what I mean? What else have I heard women identify as? Those are the only right now that are coming to mind. But you have like, the trans women, and it's kind of like, where do they, you know what I mean? Like many of them have to, like, am I just a regular woman? Am I just not even part of this queer community at all because that's what I identify as? Or you have queer women who still have relationships with other women. So it does to a point get a little bit, what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I have been introduced to a new term. A friend of mine, she told me she was pansexual. I was like, pansexual. And when I heard it, I was like, educate me. She was like, yeah, I like what I like when I want it. I'm like, well, that's like bisexual. She's like, no, it's pansexual. I'm like, all right.
and even having you demonstrate that, what was the other one? It's another one where it's like ab something, but it's basically like I romantically can have feelings for someone, but I don't want to have sex with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, Gen Z is taking, I'm telling y'all, like, I need somebody 16 to 18 to explain to me what's happening, because they taking the ball, y'all, and they just really shaking it up.
This younger generation is just crazy. I don't understand nothing they do or say.
See, and I thought it was just me when it came to this new music. See, but see, and I'll say this as far as the question that Milan asked. I listen to Horrible Decisions, and they break down so many things. Half the stuff, I swear, it's like each week I listen to their new episode, and they coming out with something else, and I'm like, well, god damn, you just gave like 4 or 5 last week, and now this week it's another one. So like you said, the pansexual, all this other stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's a trisexual, and I can't, like I said, I don't know what all of the terms mean because there's so many of them. But like I said, maybe we'll do a part 2 to this and and get somebody younger on that, the Gen Z that can break all of this.
I'd love to learn.
Because
and they take it very seriously too, as like I didn't say anything. We're all older, so we all we all know where to get in, where we fit in. But like the newer generation, like ask me about my pronouns is a big deal.
Oh
It
yes, yes.
truly offends them if you do. And I have a trend. I work with a. I don't like to talk about my profession because I've been scarred, but I work with children, and one of the children that I work with is a trans man. You know what I mean? And so he explained to me of like, I wish people would ask me the pronouns because we're just so used to going about our day and whatever and not really thinking about it. But that is important to them because they already feel trapped by their bodies.
Yeah.
So it's like you reinforcing that, you know, discomfort. So it is important.
So then what is a good way to ask? Because I don't, and I'm just throwing this out there because I would hate to walk up to someone trans or any other group and say, well, what are you? So what is the good, unjudgmental way to ask them, what do they identify as? Because even just walking up and asking them, what do you identify as? Because you have some that'll take offense to it and, and go, well, what do you see? So
well, what you saying that I feel like the ones who take offense to it are the ones who are still not comfortable with it. Because I feel like, you can't, if you're comfortable in your skin, you're comfortable with who you are, man, woman, whatever. If somebody comes and asks you that, not in a disrespectful way, in a very respectful way, if you're comfortable with who you are, you shouldn't be offended by that. So with that being said, like I said, I feel like if anybody gets offended by that question, because that's the best way to ask, like, hey, what do you identify? I don't want to disrespect you. So what do you identify as? And if they get, like I said, if they get offended by that, then that's not who they need to be.
Yeah, I think it's important for you to lead with the like, people just want to know that they can feel safe with you. So
Yes.
I don't want to disrespect you. Like I support, how do you sexually identify or what is your attraction? You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be offended by that.
No, not at all.
Okay. Because like I said, and just so y'all know, I'm gonna go back to this. I'm gonna take me some notes. Like I said, I really want to learn this because like I said, I could hang with it, and I can hang with whoever, whenever, and all this type of stuff. And some people, will go, well, doesn't such and such bother you? And I say that to ask this next question: is it offensive when? Because I always tell people that I don't care, what they do in their household, and that's not for anybody in the LGBTQ community. That's even in the heterosexual community. If a man and a woman are having sex with each other, I don't give a shit what goes on behind their closed doors. So do any of you take offense when someone like me will say, I really don't care? Because to me, love is love. I don't really care what what you all do when you go home. The same way I don't care when a man and a woman go home with each other.
Yes and no.
Okay.
And I know I say no because again, one could pick up on your attitude, your demeanor. You have no aggression, you have no hostility.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get the vibe that you want me to just shut up and just go over there and I want to keep this space hetero. And so you can be there, but you can be there kind of halfway because a lot of people want that. You know that in the Black community. Yeah. People don't care that you gay, but you cannot express anything different than the heterosexual standard. And not only that, is that attitude kind of leads us, not you personally, you know what I mean, but it's just whatever kind of attitude keeps things the same. And people, what you do in the bedroom isn't important, but if I'm with a woman and I'm making out with a woman and this just happened not too long ago and somebody feels like they want to go to security and report me because I'm not displaying the heteronormative like expression of love, my version of love has to be edited for the eyes, that is a damn problem. And just because it doesn't affect you personally, just like we want white people to stand up and detest white supremacy,
Mhm.
gotta be the
Yes.
same way when it comes to this gay shit. And it's that's how, when I'm trying to be politically correct, but like that's just how I would talk if I was with like this gay shit. Like that's what I say when I'm in that queer space. So I hope people are picking up on that. I'm not trying to be derogatory, but no, it's got to be like that. And you're pushing it down helps keep people feeling closeted. And when you're closeted, you're not going to be happy, and it's a lot that leads to that. Mess with your mental.
Anybody else?
Oh no, she said it.
I had like a
Go ahead.
counter question. Like, it made me want to ask you guys, how do you feel about like, the cartoons showing lesbian and male on male? Like,
Can I go first?
how do you feel
Yeah,
about
go ahead, Tamir.
This is my thing, and I don't know the bully culture episode that we did, Vonnie. I don't know if this came up or not, but this is my thing with it, and I don't have a problem with it. My only thing is they don't want to talk about sex in school, heterosexual, gay, lesbian, whatever. But I'm like, if you don't want to have that conversation in school, at least the cartoon makers, whoever, allow me to have that conversation with my kids before they see it. That's my only thing, because I'm like, there's a, and I don't know the name of the cartoon. I saw an article, but I think they're coming out with a gay cartoon
Rugrats.
or on
Is Rugrats okay?
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say Blue's Clues just did a thing for Pride too that I've seen around. So
and I'm cool with it if they're, and like I said, now I gotta fix my words. Not that I don't care, but I mean, but they can do it as long as they're doing it in an educational way. Because
Yes.
at like 6, 7, 8, like my youngest is 9. At 9, I don't think he needs to see that. Not because I want him to be ashamed or don't want to have anything to do with that, but I think it needs to be explained to them first before it's just thrust upon them, and it's just like, all right, look, some kids grow up with 2 dads, some kids grow up with 2 moms, or whatever the case is.
yeah.
And for me, it's just like, you know what? Yes, they are. And I teach my kids, it does not matter. As you know what I mean? The child is loved. That's how I look at it. I go, what I mean? People love this kid. I don't care if it's 2 moms, 2 dads, but I think when it comes to the cartoons, we should at least be able to talk to our kids about it before it's tossed on the kids. I mean, that's why I wanted to go first. So go ahead, Vonnie.
But see, it's like I have like the rebuttal to that is like turn it off. It's not
Yeah,
for
I
y'all.
agree.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that it doesn't need to exist, because I think about the 9-year-old who already knows that they're trans, or the 9-year-old who does have 2 dads and already experiences so much pushback and all of that from their everyday life. They deserve to see something that represents their lives, and not have to. And maybe what they can do is do a disclaimer or send something out of like, the very special episode. Like maybe that's something that needs to happen first, so that parents can kind of prepare, and whether they want to have that conversation with them or not. But you vote with your remote. So turn it off. That's not the episode for you, but it doesn't mean it doesn't need to exist.
No. I don't think it should not exist, because my thing is, and when you put it like that, Vonnie, it makes me look at it and go, that's almost equivalent to when if I move into a white neighborhood, them sending out a pamphlet to the white neighbors like, hey, a black guy's moving in.
Exactly.
It's like, so I do see both sides, but I think it should just be like you said, a special episode, whatever, and then let me look at it. Because I'm sorry, if my son wants to watch Disney Channel, I'm not going upstairs to check and see what is Disney Channel.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm not running upstairs and say, all right, well, let me see what you're watching first. But
but as a parent, should that, I get it though. It's kind of like we all get the kids. I get it.
So AJ or Milan?
Well, I have a 5-year-old son, so he's around it. More so the lesbian side, more than the the gay male side.
Mhm.
So it's like, he sees he's smart. Kids are smart for one, especially these like kids are smart. And I feel like I agree with you guys on that one. Like, if it's on Disney or Nickelodeon, like, nah, Nick Jr., my son, should not be sitting here watching like, mommy, they're kissing. Like, no. If it's more of an adult cartoon, when they hit that, I feel like, when they hit that teenage years,
Yeah.
9, 10-ish, they're starting to see the world more, they're starting to behind mommy and daddy back, starting to see things they're not supposed to see and stuff like that. So they're getting introduced to a lot of things. But I feel like, as far as the cartoons and stuff like that, I feel like it should be an age limit when it comes to introducing kids. Because I agree with you, Jamil. Like, you're supposed to, let the parents handle that.
Yeah.
Don't, let the parents handle that and slowly bring them into that, okay, listen, this is what's going on. Like, my son, he knows, like, mommy, like, he knows he's supposed to marry a woman, so the Bible says, but he knows, okay, but mommy's happy being with a woman too,
Mhm.
So like I said, I mean, they kids are smart. Kids are very smart.
What about you, Milan?
I'm kind of biased. Sorry, my allergies are kicking in right now,
I know
but
you good.
super biased about that. And I say that because I was a kid that had like crazy thoughts, like, oh, my crazy, not really having guidance on it. Again, I told you guys earlier, my mom was very Christian. She was like, textbook Christian, like I'm holy water Christian, like, you know what I'm saying? So I wish I did have more support, as a child, like not necessarily a childhood cartoon, but something, that made me feel like, hey, this is not necessarily it's okay, because in a sense I've made it okay, but we're taught that, a man is to be with a woman, X, Y, and Z, but I would have just going back to that. I would have liked to see some kind of cartoon. I personally would have liked to see some kind of cartoon as a child. But it is nice to see it. On the other hand of that, it is nice to finally see that out now.
Mhm.
But I do agree with you, Mel. Like 4 or 5 years old, now you don't need to see it. Not a Blue's Clues. I don't want to see that on Blue's Clues,
Oh,
But
no.
I 13. I get it. 13. I guess that was the age where you start to, play house. Now you play house at 8, 9.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I was.
Like, I'm trying to keep it like cute, but like when I was coming up, people was getting fingered at like 11. I'm just like putting it out there. So
Hey.
I don't want to make nobody feel uncomfortable. I don't
that'd
know
be
what
all
people
right.
do in their development, but
Yeah,
that's
I had
what
my
was
first
going
experience
on
at a
around
young
me.
age. Yeah. And back to what Milan was saying as well too. Believe it or not, we did have cartoons back then. We probably didn't understand it and get it at that point. But I promise you, if we go back and look at some of the cartoons we watched growing up, we be like,
Cow
okay.
and chicken, like
Oh,
Ren and
cow and chicken, yes.
SpongeBob. I mean,
Not to throw shade on some of these kids' cartoons now, but hey, Bernie and Ert, you're not telling me nothing.
In 2020, they really was like, yes, like this is what's happening. This was the intention. It's like, duh.
just make you wonder what that rubber ducky really was about. But so then I have some other questions. This is one of the questions I wrote down. So how do you all feel about transgenders in female dominated sports? And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. There was a MMA fight where a transgender male, correct me if I'm wrong in my terminology, but transgender male identified as a woman, and they put him in a ring against a female. Now they fought, whatever, he cracked her skull and all of that shit. So how do you all feel about that? And the reason I ask is that Caitlyn Jenner, I think, is running for governor or something in California at some point. And she said that she feels that, transgender should sort of have their own league or their own group. So how do you all feel about that?
First of all, I'm sorry, y'all go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
I got it. Because I'm for real, like I'm passionate about this shit, y'all, for real. Because
Yeah.
and I know the ladies can say too, like the years of confusion and like doubt on my heart, like now that I can speak a lot more freely, I it's like it can't stay in sometimes. First of all, Caitlyn don't speak for nobody, okay? Because Caitlyn
No.
is a white woman, okay? So that's the
Yes.
first thing. And no, you know, to Candace Owens, to I mean Caitlyn, that's what that is. You know what I mean? That's cooning on the low. You know what I mean? Or on the high key, honestly. I do think personally it would be nice to have, you know, a league for trans identified people. I think so. It sounds like though, to kind of go back to it sounds so it was the trans person male at birth?
Yes.
Okay. And so it was a trans woman.
Okay.
See, there's so many questions of that, of like, was she on hormones? How long has she been on hormones? Like, has you can be a trans woman and not have any surgery. Like a lot of there are trans people out there who are just like, I just want to declare, I just want to dress, and I'm going to keep the same anatomy. Like, so it's so many follow-up questions that I would have to that.
Okay.
But I do think if it were me regulating, to be fair, it would have to be a cap on like, how long have you been on hormones? It would have to be a certain amount of time, because it is biologically, there is a difference. You know what I mean? Biologically, there is a difference. So that conversation would have to happen. But because, like AJ said earlier, because a lot of people are just like gay, or trans, we can't even put the parameters in place to make it more fair, because they just want to deny trans existence in general.
Anybody else?
When it comes to that, I'm a little 50-50. Like I'm on a offense and defense with that one. Personally, you know, who you are is who you are. But when it comes to the sports things, I feel like I really do agree. Like they should have a league of their own. For one, because regardless, you're still a man. Regardless, you're still a woman. Even though you know, and I hope I don't offend nobody with that. But regardless, like, you know, even if you do go full blown and this is what you identify yourself with, respect. I respect that. I don't feel like a man who's trans to a woman. I don't feel like you should be in a ring with another female. Like regardless, you were a man before. Like you gonna throw that right hook, and it's gonna hurt more so than a female throwing a right hook with certain females, you know. So like I said, I'm on the fence when it comes to that. Like, you know, I support it, and I believe in all the equalness and all that stuff, but I just feel like they should have something of their own. Because it's so many, believe it or not, there's so many trans women and trans men in this world. And for them to have something of their own would be super dope. But I don't feel like, you know, like I said, I'm 50-50 when it comes to that, about them being in sports and stuff.
All right, you, Milan?
I guess I really don't have a agree or disagree. I think like, well, I'm kind of neutral. Like I've never like, I don't put it like this. I don't have any friends that are trans. Personally, I know a lot of people in the gay community, but not like personally on a personal level trans. But I do remember one encounter in the military. This is when they had just like let up the don't ask, don't tell rule, and this girl, I never forget this shit. Like she had just changed over, and she was going into she was a black girl, by the way, too. Male. By the way, and she was going into the male bathroom, and like my sergeants, a couple of them actually was like grilling her ass for going in there, and then later on they ended up getting demoted and kicked out of the army because of that. Like, but that was my first like real encounter, but like it really fucked her up because she was like depressed and everything, like because no one was accepting who she was. So I guess now recanting that, I do think they should, they definitely should have their own league.
Yeah, because reading articles and hearing different things, a lot of people think that if they have their own league, and like I said, this part may be all media driven, but they're like, well, that's, there's not inclusion. Why should they be separated from everybody else? And me personally, I do think that it should be two separate things, because there's, like AJ said, you can't have a man transitioning over fighting, a female.
Right.
And then there's also there's a 50-year old man transitioning over to a woman playing college basketball. Now he's 6'7", 250 something pounds, playing against girls in college basketball, 50. And I'm like, you're not going to find too many women 6'7", 250 pounds to do anything against this. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm like, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear you all say that they possibly need their own league, because at least the scales would be balanced and it would be more fair. Because if it were to go the other way, and a woman transitioning to be a man, would they put the woman transitioning to be a man in a ring with another man?
I think, again, it has to be parameters. I want to come back to that. It needs to start. I would like to have a conversation with this 50-year-old trans woman. Like, why? Because a lot of people, sometimes it feels like straight people view transitioning as like a get out of jail free card. Like, oh, yes, I'm gonna get over on people. And it's like, you got to understand, again, people have been conflicted their whole lives. There's a big uptick 2020, 2021 of people transitioning in their later years of life, because they have had to play a role for so long. So again, it has to start with a conversation, because that might have been that woman's, breaking point. Like, that might have been like where they finally felt free. So I don't want to demonize, and I don't want to marginalize either. I think with me, my hesitation with just saying give them their own league is like the marginalization. Like, let's be real, like the WNBA don't get the Stern. They're marginalized for their talent. You know what I mean? Like, that's my hesitation on it. So that's why I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's get some parameters. It is a discussion of physicality. And again, but if you transition and your hormones have kicked in for a certain amount of time, you might, you know what I mean? There's some wiggle room in there. You know what I mean? So parameters in place.
Anybody else before I move on to the next question?
No.
Okay. So in the LGBTQ community, and I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you all. So is there a big and I think Vonnie touched on it earlier, is there a big issue within the community, sort of like infighting, like how, jokingly or not, like how you see with with the African American community, how we make fun, light skin versus dark skin and all that type shit. Do you all, is there a big issue with that, or I'm sure there is at some level, but how, what is it like? Because you don't really see a lot of memes, or maybe I don't think I follow anybody that posts those types of memes and stuff. But is it a big issue, sort of, with the light skin versus dark skin thing?
Nah, are y'all ready? Anybody going?
Thank you.
With this, no, for me, this is just on my side because it's STEM stat, whatever, right? It seems like it's always a fucking competition. Like when you walk in the door, like people's eyeing you down. You can't even it's like a size me up game. That's why I hate. And I hope I don't take offense to the show, but I really don't like going to lesbian clubs. Like my girlfriend will tell you that. No.
I don't like me.
Once in a while, but like for the events, we're there. Me, her, there, everything. But on a daily, yeah. And it's so much, it's cattiness. Like it's just unnecessary. But that's
it's true. Yeah, that's true. I don't mean to cut you off, but just the other day, me and my girlfriend went out for date night, and she was like, I'm her first real lesbian relationship, and she was like, babe, do all the lesbians stare at each other? Da, 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 da. I'm like, yeah, you'll get used to it. It's like I don't know if it's a like a territorial thing or what, but yeah, you'll get used to it. You like me, I just be like, oh, ignore it. I look and keep it moving. But
Right.
yeah, I have to agree with Milan on that one. Yeah. I don't like going to lesbians. It's I don't understand. Like it's such a big competition, and I'm like, I just want to enjoy life and have fun. Like, what are we competing for? It's so many, so many fish in the sea. Like, y'all want to really compete over one?
Right. Yeah.
Same thing. It was first when you said this, I was like, so when I think about the LGBTQIA plus community as a whole, it's like white and WHITE. They own everything. Like if you were to ask me, the largest group who think that this community is tailored for them is white gay men. They don't see They don't see lesbians because if you think about it, they're the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying earlier. There is a hierarchy. Yes, everybody say love and love is love is love, but because they could fit in or pass, because that's like a whole nother loaded topic of how can you pass and who's closeted and who's on the down low. Like it goes so deep depending on what part of that acronym you're talking about. But yeah, most white men think that all of the rights, all of the freedom, and all of the steps that are gained are for them, and they are to enjoy the community. And they might allow you. Here in Chicago, we got Boys Town, and famously, historically, they have kicked Black people out of that space. You know what I mean? Like we are visitors on that turf. As far as like communities that me personally, like I agree with the ladies too. Like I had to take a break from lesbian clubs too, because it's like it was too aggressive for me. Like for real, like I felt like I took one step in the door and it was like and I'm just like, relax. Like I'm just first of all, I'm glad to be out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to get to know people. And when you first get in the community and you first like, know that this is something that you feel attracted to, just getting the courage to just again step foot in that space and not feel like eyes are completely on you. Somebody said like gay people, like we can be the most critical of ourselves because a lot of times we are used to being on the defensive. We're used to being the only in like certain situations. So it makes us extra critical when we see a new person come into the space. Cause it's like, well, they don't do it the way I do it. So you know what I mean? So it can be very critical.
I mean, that's good to hear. Like I said, and all of these questions, at least for me, is really to point out to all of the people that say ill and all this other stupid shit. Is to point out to them like, hey, look, we're the same. On both sides, we're both dealing with the same type of shit, no matter what.
Yeah.
And something that I wish Black people in particular would stop doing as a Black queer person. Like I've heard before, like they want to go to the gay side because they get all like Black people are like Black queer people are jumping on the gay train because we feel like we're gonna get more rights and we're gonna get to the front of the line and we're just gonna forget. Baby, I can't forget this. Now there's gonna be people anywhere. Like there are just like there's coons, there's gonna be coons in the gay space as well. Like that's just something you have to mentally prepare for. There are Black gay people who they are okay with. There's something in the male gay space of no fats, no femmes, no Blacks, no Asian, like that's something in their community, and there are some Black people who are like, is it okay if I'm gay? Is like they're comfortable with being marginalized. You know what I mean? They okay if my white boyfriend dates me, but says racist things on the internet. There are people like that. But for majority of us who got Black praying grandmas, we know we're not jumping the line. We're not trying to forget the Black side. We express ourselves in this way. And so your like finds like. So we go to that LGBT space because, at least for me personally, I felt more welcomed. You know what I mean? I've been big my whole life. I've been dark my whole life. And those were things that were used to weaponize against me and make me feel small. When I go into this space, I'm the fiercest thing there. Like I don't have to necessarily say anything. You know what I mean? So I just want Black people to understand that we're not forgetting our Black side. We're not trying to side with them because, we want to be special. You know what I mean? That's just what I like. You know what I mean? That's just how I find other people that like the same thing as me. So that's just something I felt necessary to say.
No, you're good. But I don't, even if you, I don't, even if you felt that that's what you were doing because it gave you an advantage, why the fuck does it matter to anybody else? You know what I mean? And I mean, I can say that, but I don't get why that matters. You're gonna go, and this is for me. It's just like when people say, "Oh, well, how come all of these athletes, these rappers?" I use Childish Gambino for example because I just heard the song before we came on. But they're like, "Well, how could he be pro-Black but he's married to a white woman?" You gonna go with whoever the fuck is supported you and backed you. I'm not going because I'm pro-Black. Now all of a sudden Black women find me attractive and now I'm supposed to go back? No, motherfucker. When I was down and working my way up, if this white woman is the one that supported me, that's what the fuck I'm gonna be with. And I think it's the same thing. So I don't, I know why, but I don't get why it matters to other people if you all take advantage of, and not take advantage sounds bad, but what I mean, if you use what you have to sort of get whatever leg up in the game you can get, because like I said, being Black, Black and gay, lesbian, or whatever the case is, does, in today's society, that's two strikes right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got it. We definitely got it bad, and I'm glad you touched on that because not only are we're Black, like we're also lesbians, we're also trans, we're also queers, we're also whatever gay, you know what I mean? And then on top of that, we're a male and a female that's Black, that's lesbian, that's growing up in a society that's just, excuse my mouth, fucked up. Yeah. So it's like we get it bad regardless. So when, like you said, we just would like to find that comfort. And it's sometimes, it's messed up that we don't get comfort from our own people. They think, oh, you're just this, you're just that. Like, no, we just listen, we just want to, I'm not gonna say fit in, but we just want to be accepted,
For who you are, yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. So then I have a question. I was thinking how to ask it. So what was harder, and I want each of you to answer this. And was it harder coming out to your family or keeping your peace with some of the ignorant ass people that you got to deal with? What was harder?
Guys, I'll take this one first. True story. I knew all my life I was different. My stepdad had a collection of adult films, and I used to love sneaking downstairs, and I used to always like watching the females. I always knew I was different. So true story my family found out when I was in high school, reason being because my brothers, being the little sister of the family, they like to go on your things. And I kept a lot of letters from a lot of females and stuff like that. And they found it, and that's how my mom and them found out. My brother ended up snitching on me and stuff. But by that time, I was so comfortable being in my skin. I really didn't. It hurt because I got everything through, oh, God created Adam and Eve, not Steve and Steve, not Eve and Eve. And I had all that. And growing up back in the 90s, like it was a little hard because I really didn't know. At the same time, I didn't care, but I was hurt because I didn't know, you know. And I end up, you know, doing things like running away and stuff like that. But in the midst of running away, I found comfort within the LGBT community, and it just made me feel like, you know what, like I don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks. You can't care. You have to have a hard shell in the LGBT as heterosexual as anything. You have to have a hard shell. You can't let anybody dictate or, you know, regulate how you feel or what you feel. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't really hard coming out to my family. Like when they found out, I was just like, yeah, I'm the lesbian, guys. I love women. So, you know, it really wasn't all that. It was hard, but it wasn't hard. And like I said, I really didn't care about what the world thought about me. Especially as I got older, I really don't care what the world thinks about me.
All right. Anybody want to go next?
Well, damn. For me, 50-50 again, because not with the my family, my mother found out that I was dating women through a friend of hers. I was in school. I was actually in college at the time, and one of her friends, I guess, saw my Facebook page and sent her a picture. And next thing you know, mom's calling me like, "You got to get the fuck out of school right now!" Like she's taking me out of school. Shit. I'm like, "What I do?" And then we get down. She has a powwow and everything, and she's like, "Did I do this to you? Is something that's what killed me? Did I do this to you? There's something I did." No, motherfucker, you did. Like, I like what I like, you know. But that was crazy as shit, y'all, because my family, bro, when I say they shunned the shit out of me, like, yo, I was like, damn, for liking women and some of the stuff, like, you know, everybody got past and secrets and shit. So it's like, compared to the stuff that I knew that they did, I was like, I'm getting shunned for liking women too. So that was pretty rough. And then on the flip side of that, working at, you know, I used to sell cars. I sold cars for 6 years. I was a sales consultant. And my last dealership, I sold cars that was at a Cadillac dealership, all white, y'all. Preferably all white, you know, just good old boy kind of system. So, as you know, I played the role. Not necessarily forced, but I'm a pretty woman, so I played the role, you know? Mm-hmm. And that shit got annoying because once they realized I wasn't attracted or trying to talk to them, I had to work 10 times harder to get shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely both, Jamil, for that question. Well, I had it rough on both sides. So.
For me, I'm gonna be real, like it was/is much easier for me to separate my identity from majority of my family versus having that conversation. And it's kind of twofold as to like why. Like, first of all, like, again, I went to a Baptist school pretty much up until like my double digits around. I went to a regular school at 11, I think. And then, you know, I was always curious again. Media got me first. So, you know, again, Rocky Horror, like vagina monologues, like Sex in the City, like those things were like, again, it was like, oh, gay people can be possible. You know what I mean? I always had like feelings and rumblings, but you just think you weird. You just think, you know, your mind dirty or something like that. And so once I knew those things were possible, and once I got in high school and college and I got more of an opportunity to meet like-minded people who are like, it's okay for you to like girls, like, oh, cool, word, I would do this. I didn't have this conversation with my mom until a couple years ago. And I literally just had it again with her this week because she doesn't get it. Like, she doesn't understand like the hierarchy or the different identification within gay. You know what I mean? So when I told her a couple years ago, well, I think I'm queer, like, oh, okay, she told me not too long ago either. Like, oh well, you're not like real gay. Like, you know what I mean? Like for real. Like she was just like, oh, you're not real. You like you can't I'm like, no, I have been in relationships. I have been on dates with women with the intention of romantic like things. But I'm just listening to, I think for her, the fear is like a lot of parents is you will be persecuted. Like she said, her fear is that either someone straight or someone gay will think that I'm playing around, or you know what I mean, and they will want to harm me. So because you not really like all the way, you can just be a supporter and just watch from the sidelines. And it's evolving. I know my mom loves me. I know my mom gets it. I have since RuPaul's Drag Race, because that was just something that she could identify. I have been working on her for years. Like, we're going to sit down and watch this again, talk about the very special episode. Look, they have a trans man. Let's have that conversation. So she knows I've been to how many prides, I've walked in prides. So again, she knows that it's something that I'm deeply entrenched in. But I think her fear is that if I get too deep, that I can end up being harmed. And so she wants to kind of protect me. And so just stay on this side of things. And one thing that like the rest of my family, I have an aunt who's very into gospel in that community, and I had a conversation with her about God. And I was like, she asked me, how did I identify my faith? And I was like, I'm spiritual. You know what I mean? Like, I do witchy shit. I'm tarot card girl, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I remember telling her, I just don't think God is a white man with a beard in the sky. Like, that's what I told her. And when she was like, I just think it's my job to get all my family into heaven, I was like, we can't even have the other conversation. This is where the conversation stops.
Listen, yeah. To touch on that, I feel like with our age group bracket, our parents and our siblings are so based on an old school raising that they haven't grasped around like it's totally different nowadays. Like it's so different. And it took me and my mom didn't talk for 2 years because she couldn't accept me and stuff like that. It bothered me, but at the end of the day, I was like, well, this is who I am. But I think more so for my mom, she was more so worried about what the world would say. What would they think? And I was just like, Mom, like, I don't care. Like, I don't care what the world thinks. And I think her more so with her too, I think she was afraid that I wouldn't have a grandchild for her. And I was like, Mother, lesbians can have kids too, you know that, right? Like, and
right.
And it comforted her more when I did have a son for her, and she's seen the maturity of me as growing up throughout the years. And I think by that and how I carry myself, because she was so hooked on, gay people carry themselves one way and that's just nasty. I'm like, well, Mother, have you been watching me grow up through the years? And like over the years, she's seen it. She sees the maturity. She sees the difference. And she's really been acceptable of the whole gay community thing. And just like, hey, okay, I have a son now, 3 sons and a daughter. So, because I have an older sister. So it's like, like I said, they just so based on and grew up on such a one world situation.
But you know what killed me? They was wild as hell back then.
Okay.
What?
Wild.
Man, listen.
To them, it's a different type of wild. If you ask them,
wild is wild.
Or it's just like different. And that's one thing, to bring it back to gay and heterosexual understanding. I think a lot of people who are fighting it so strong are people who want to work the system, to be honest with you. It's a lot of y'all friends, it's a lot of y'all husbands, it's a lot of y'all cousins, sisters, brothers out there who are on the surface like, nah, get this stuff out of here, blah, 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 and are having relations with trans, with gay men.
Yes.
And that's what pisses me off, because
yes, man.
you you getting to live you get to live the fantasy by again making other people feel small and like they can be stepped on, and that's not fair. You got to have equal. You don't want to treat people equal.
Right.
They want their cake and eat it too at the end of the day.
Yeah, and
That's
make
all that
them
is.
get the guilt. I'm put
Yeah.
the guilt on them, not looking myself for how I really feel and identify.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot of women, some of them that I know, who got husbands. But you had your experiences. You over here with me. Like
Hey, listen,
you
I don't
over
care
here
what
with
nobody
me.
say. Everybody has a curiosity in
I
their
was about to
brain.
say
Everybody, hey, everybody
Yeah.
has curiosity. I don't care, you man, woman, old, young. I promise you, everybody has.
Jamil, you heard that, right?
Everybody has it.
I
Huh?
heard it.
I'm not saying you do,
No,
Coco,
I'm
but
just
I'm
saying,
just
I heard
saying.
it. I mean, hey, no, but but I'll say this. Well, one, thank y'all for being very, very open and honest. We're gonna have to do a part two at some point.
Oh, most
Yeah,
definitely.
because I
Most
got
definitely.
questions too.
Man, I could go all night on anything with the LGBT. I love it because not too many people are so open minded with learning and
Mhm.
understanding. So
Yeah.
this is a beautiful thing you're doing right here, Cuzzo. I promise it. Promise you.
Oh no, I mean, it needs to be done. Like I said, in most of my other episodes, I enjoy having these types of conversations because, like I said, I want to know, I want to learn just so that when I'm dealing with people, that I come correct and asking them, how do they identify and make sure I understand the definition of, queer, gay, lesbian, all that type stuff, just so it doesn't come off wrong. Because, like I said, I know I say, I said before, and Vonnie, I'm glad you broke it down the way that you did. When I say I don't care what you do at home, doesn't mean that I don't give a shit about you. And that's just how I talk. It's just, oh, me and my husband, we going home and do, that'll be like somebody say, oh, me and my wife, we going home and, she's gonna give me head, whatever the case is. I don't give a shit. And that's what you do at home. That's your business. I don't care. That, and that's how I mean it is, everybody deserves happiness, regardless of
Yes.
what somebody else's definition is, because and I told my wife this before. I was like, whether two women want to get married or two men want to
Mm-hmm.
get married or whatever, everybody deserves to be happy / miserable in their marriage. So why shouldn't so why shouldn't they be able to experience the same thing? Them being married is not gonna stop me from going to work. It's not gonna stop me from hanging out with my kids and nothing. It's not like there's an alien apocalypse or some shit coming, So it is what it is. But what's one thing that um that you can tell the ignorant or scared folks out there, something, whether even if you want to just tell them fuck them, whatever, something that you could tell them just to, I guess, sort of to open up and just be willing to have the conversation or even listen if they don't want to have the conversation. What's something that you all, could say to them?
I got something, especially for Black people. Pride Month is Black History Month. And let me tell
Yes.
you why. Because it was a Black trans woman, Marsha P.
Yes.
Johnson,
Educate them.
who through so Stonewall, a little historic thing, right? And I'm sure we know already because we've been drilled already. But the way that Pride Month became a thing anyway was based off of a 1969 Stonewall riot that happened in New York City, a club.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
Marsha P. Johnson again was a Black trans woman who threw the first brick, as they say. Her and Sylvia Rivera started I don't want to get it incorrect, but started STAR, which was a organization or that fought for Black, trans, gay, whatever rights. So this whole LGBTQIA plus, because I always want to stay on knowing at each letter of that acronym, was started by Black and people of color. So here's why you need to know this subsection of Black history. And that's what I want you to know. There are people out there, whether you love them or hate them, regardless if you support, it's people that have been thrown out. I need y'all to understand this. They just wanted to be sexual deviants. This is what was in their heart, soul, and spirit, and made it out in this world and still became notable. The quote unquote bottom of our social hierarchy was able to create all this rainbow shit, and it deserves to be heard. And what, you don't have to have your child be part of it, well, depending on how they identify, you know, but this is a subsection of Black history. And so it just frustrates me. Again, I know we have all sorts of targets and things that we want to meet, but you can't silence us. You can't silence us. And that's all I would say.
AJ or Milan?
You go ahead, Milan.
She got so detailed, I forgot.
Yeah, right.
Took a turn on me. Damn. Okay. Sheesh. What was the basis of that question?
I know, just like something to, you know, like with it being Pride Month, and you know, just trying to get people to, and like I said, you know, I'm just speak freely. Fuck them if they don't want to learn or they don't want to, you know what I mean, get in tune or in touch with that type of side. Because one, it's not like, you know, it's not like you all are going anywhere. It's not like if they say, you know, if we ignore them long enough, they're going to disappear.
We've been around for so long.
You know what I mean? So why not just educate yourself? So it's just, what words of, regardless of how they see it, what words of encouragement can you give someone that's either late to the party of, you know, getting to know and accept the LGBTQ plus community? There you go. What's some words of encouragement or something that you could give them to try and, you know, open their minds up to accepting or getting to know, you know, more about the movement, the community, whatever the case may be?
No exact word you just said, to walk in it with an open mind and to not be judgmental.
Yes.
I don't, that's to me, that's the only way you're gonna, I guess, possibly be able to understand it, in a sense. Like, if you're not open-minded, you're not gonna be receptive to the information, what's going on around you, what's going on, you know, as you're watching it, because to the heterosexual people, homosexuality is a lot, you know, to take in. So, I just would say be open-minded, and to go in it with an open heart, like, because a lot of people are really, really judgmental, and they have, you know, not necessarily messed up backgrounds, but they've been raised and, you know, taught a certain way. So you just try to forget that and come, whomever you meet, you know, if it's a man, woman, trans, you know, whatever they may be, just come at them with an open mind. I promise you learn so much from people, man, especially our community.
Yeah, exactly. I have to agree with what the ladies are saying right now about that. I mean, at the end of the day, how I look at it and how I see it, I mean, for one, please come in with an open mind. Don't be so judgmental. We already dealing with a lot. I mean, even heterosexuals, they deal with a lot. So you should be understanding of a little bit of what we're going through. But at the end of the day, you know, hey, I'm going to be me. It got everything to do with me and nothing to do with you. I love it. You ain't got to like it. You ain't got to love it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to continue being me, whether you want to judge me, whether you want to accept me. But I promise you, if you get to know, you know, I can't speak for all of them, but some of us in this community, you know, you get to know us, you'll see, like, we're no different. We're just like you at the end of the day. We're just a little different. We're special. God made us a little special.
So
razzle on there.
Yeah,
little sprinkling of unicorns on that one.
So I mean, Nicole, like I said again, I do appreciate you all for coming on and, you know,
thank you.
Educating myself and those that will hear this. And I'll say this in closing too, you know, I want you all back on, and hopefully we can get get some younger folk in here to this Gen Z, as Bonnie said, get them in here so that they can
Yep.
educate us.
Teach
But
me something.
I have some questions too. Yeah.
but no, but again, this was definitely fun. It's a conversation that needed to be had, and like I said, we definitely will do this again. So I appreciate you all's time. You know, we need to talk 23 and signing off.